What's up, guys? Today I'm gonna give you 5 tips on how to get the best reactions with your magic. And to help me demonstrate some of these tips, my good buddy Chris over here is going to he's gonna help us we're gonna help Chris be a better magician. Yes, I am Chris, that is me. Sort of. This video is not only meant to help you guys, but also a reminder for myself, as I myself will also get caught by some of these no-nos. And today we're going to try to rectify that and put you on the right path. Before we get started, I just want to say it's very important that we understand what compels someone to react the way they do. Magic should not be measured in how high they jump or how loud they scream, but more what compelled them to do that. There's something deep within them that every individual experiences differently. Magic is a new feeling. That's what magic is. It's something new that they've never experienced before, and that causes that astonishment, that disbelief, that lack of words, or that crazy response. So what we're gonna try to do is amplify to the best of our ability that response for your spectator and give them the best, most long-lasting astonishment ever. So number 1, try to make it organic. Keep it organic. And by organic magic, most magicians will lead you to believe that organic magic uses everyday items. But that's only the half of it. They use everyday items in the context of an organic situation. For instance, if you're at a dinner party, bringing out a tea bag with a deck of playing cards, and although it sounds like those might be organic items, they're not really fit for this situation. So instead, try not to only use the items that are around you or on themselves, also use the situation to your advantage. The strongest magic that I've performed has always been conversational magic, when the conversation directs towards an effect that I may know. And sometimes I myself will steer this conversation in that direction to make it seem like they were the ones to suggest this trick happening. For instance, Chris meets someone and someone says to him that they enjoy reading books. Well, instead of actually having a book on you and pulling it out, which is super weird, please don't do that. Maybe ask them what their favorite book is and go from there. Maybe have them write down their favorite book, and then your favorite book is actually the same as theirs. Like, these are just examples of effects that you can come up with. With all the methods that you have in mind, you're able to cater to the organic situation. That is organic magic. The last point I want to touch on is impromptu versus impromptu. All right, impromptu means like off the cuff, but there are 2 types of impromptu. One, when they know you're a magician, and one when they do not. When they do know you're a magician, it's kind of like, you're a magician, show me a trick, and they go, okay, I got a deck of cards, right? But when they don't know you're a magician, that's where you get the maximum amount of reaction, because they're not expecting anything, which is why shows like the Carbonaro effect, you know, really works, because people are in actual disbelief of the magic happening, because they're in a normal situation and not confronted by a magician. So if you can play along those lines, if you can, I mean, I would. Number 2, keep it simple. Keep everything concise, keep it relatable, keep it normal. Don't go off on like this fantasy-driven explanation. People don't care, and they don't have the attention span to care, especially if they don't know you. You know, if you want to say like, oh, imagine if this playing card was a vampire. Like, what the are you talking about? Like, honestly. It's a piece of pasteboard. It's a piece of cardboard paper that you're holding in your hand. There's no way that it's a vampire. Vampires don't exist. So keep it simple, keep it something they can understand. And if you are doing a card trick in this instance, keep everything as simple as you can. Bring it down to the lowest common denominator, because only then will they completely comprehend the situation. And if they do understand everything that happened clearly and concisely, then they're ready to react, obviously. If you start confusing them with a storyline that has no bearing on the situation, or some type of 9-packet trick, or you go over here, you do this, meanwhile you do this, like, it becomes overcomplicated and convoluted for nothing, and you might lose some people in the process. So make sure your magic is catered to everyone in the room or everyone in front of you, and not just for a few individuals that may or may not understand what's going on. What I'm saying is, don't bring 38 props if you're gonna perform one magic trick. So the next tip is keep it personal. Make it personal. Magic is always stronger when there's a personal tie to the effect. Instead of having them pick any card and saying, go ahead, pick any card, it doesn't matter what card you pick, which a lot of magicians do. Instead, give them the deck if you can and say, you know what, look for the card that best represents you, and I want you to hold on to that card because it actually matters what card you choose. And that's just a very strong thing and a good example of how you can take the same thing but make it a little bit more personal. Maybe instead of having them sign their name, you can actually have them write their favorite word or a word that means something to them on the card. I believe that idea is from Jay Sankey. You can also have them write down their birthday or the name of someone that they love that's in their life. Or maybe instead of generating a random number or a random word, you can generate maybe their PIN code or their star sign, or these things are very, very strong. So the more personal things you can incorporate to a magic trick, I think the better, because it gives them a special experience that no one else would have. And this is not something you could perform for anyone. It's something that is catered specifically to this particular audience member, which makes it special for them. Just don't get too personal, if you know what I mean. The next thing is something this is probably the most important point, is contrast. I don't mean this type of contrast. I mean contrast between their objective view of reality and what is happening. If you bend that objective view, that view that they have, that perception that they have of reality, if you bend that just enough without breaking it, if you just bend it just enough for it to be believable, but just on the fringe of it being fantastic, there's that massive contrast between what they're living and what they're experiencing. And the larger that contrast, the greater the reaction. But again, don't go too far off the deep end. If you start talking about, oh, if gravity didn't exist, this would happen. I mean, because it does exist. So maybe find a way to tie in gravity to what they already know and tie that into your effect somehow. Make sure that they understand, which brings me back to point number 2, is keep it simple. Make sure that they understand everything. But if you can create that contrast larger and larger between what's happening and their view of reality, if you can make that clear, concise, I mean, the greater you can extend those two parts, the greater the astonishment. The last point I want to touch on is something that I struggle with all the time, but I'm trying to get better at, and it is let them react. We've all seen magicians, including myself, as soon as the effect's over, they want to bulldoze into the next effect because they're so excited and they want to keep it going. Or magicians often overprove after the trick's done to try and amplify an effect and tell you how impossible every single little component of the effect was while you're reacting. And put yourself in the mind of a spectator. You're trying to process this information already. Throwing more information at me, it's just going to take more time for me to process, and eventually I might just lose interest and move on. Let them react. David Blaine was actually really good at that, is actually really good at that. And you know, a lot of magicians poke fun at David for just kind of keeping it very simple and minimalistic and not saying too much and kind of letting them bask in their own astonishment. But that, I think, is very important. I think their brain is processing something that our brain has already processed, where it might take us an instant to react to our own effect and be like, see? Their brain is still processing this information and might take up to 5 or 10 seconds to completely, fully put the picture together. So don't interrupt them. Let them have that moment of astonishment. And I guarantee you that will be carried with them for a very long time. Their own mind will try to figure out what's going on and cancel out different methods, and eventually they'll just be bewildered and completely astonished, and they won't know what to say, but their mind is going to create that for them. You don't have to tell them how to react. Let them do that. That's their job. All right, so those were my 5 tips for getting better reactions. I know this is not the type of video that a lot of people want to subscribe to. I know this doesn't have to do with a lot of things that people are subscribed to on this channel, but it's something that I hold dear to me, which is magic performance. I do appreciate you watching. If you did pay attention to this video, I really appreciate that. Leave a like if this was at all helpful or just interesting. I would really appreciate it. And let me know below in the comments what's one thing that you would do to increase your maximum reaction with your spectator. I'm really interested to see what you guys have to say. So thanks, Chris. I think you're well on your way to becoming a decent magician. Hey, he's trying. And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you on the next video. Peace.
Enchanté.